What's going on, Science and Cooking? It's Greg, and I just want to pose a little puzzle to you. Okay, so let's say I give you a cup of acid. Now don't worry about why I'm giving you a cup of acid, and don't go around telling people that Greg your TF gave you a cup of acid, but you have about 7 milliliters of it, and I want to pose a puzzle to you. That puzzle is how many H plus ions are in there. And H plus ions are really small, and there are a lot of them in there. And so it's kind of impressive that you guys actually know how to calculate how many H plus ions are in there. And so first what you have to do is you need to figure out what the concentration of H plus ions are. And so that means, since we have an equation, I don't know if you remember the equation, but the equation that relates pH to H plus ion concentration, we can just figure out the pH, and then from that we can get the H plus concentration. Do you remember that equation? It was just pH is equal to minus log of the H plus concentration. Now, since we're doing an experiment and you're sitting there with your acid, you figure out the pH by putting a pH strip into the acid, and you figure out that the pH is equal to 2. Now, also I should just remind you that the units of the H plus concentration is in moles per liter. So what that means is mole is just a big number and liter is just the volume, and so the 1 mole is just equal to 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd, so it's just a big number. And so what we can do now is we can rearrange this equation so that we can figure out what the H plus concentration is. So let's do that. So we have 2 is equal to minus log of H plus concentration. Multiply both sides by minus 1, so we have minus 2 is equal to log of H plus concentration. And then we can use this rule about logs. If you ever have 10 to the log of some number, then that's equal to just that number inside the log, because the 10 and logs are like opposites, and they do the opposite thing and cancel each other out. And so we can just take the left and right hand side of this and make them both exponents of 10 and then set them equal to each other. So then we have 10 to log of H plus concentration, and then from what I just said, we know the right hand side is just the H plus concentration, and left hand side is this. So we know that the H plus concentration is equal to 10 to the minus 2 moles per liter. Okay, so now we have the concentration, but we want to figure out how many H plus ions are in there. So let's first figure out how many H plus ions are in a milliliter. So the way that we can do that is we can just convert what we have here into milliliters and figure out the number of moles per milliliter. And so the way that we do that is, converting is always just multiplying something by 1. So what I mean is that since 100 milliliters is equal to 1 liter, those two things are equal, so that means that we can just say 100, 1 liter over 100 milliliters is equal to 1, because the top and bottom are the same, so they cancel and we just get 1. And so the H plus concentration, we can just multiply it by 1 moles per liter. This is the concentration. Multiply it by 1 liter over 100 or 1,000 milliliters, and then we can cancel liters units. And now we have 10 to the minus 6 moles per milliliter. Now we can do the same thing again to figure out the number of H plus ions per milliliter. We can just multiply by 1 of the form 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd over 1 mole. top and bottom are the same, so we can multiply this by that. And so let's just do that. So this times 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd, sorry, should have the third there, over 1 mole. Cancel out the moles. This is H pluses. And so now we have that this is just equal to 10 to minus 6 times 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd H pluses. And then this is H pluses per milliliter. So now we know that this is how many H pluses we have in one of our milliliters, but we have 7 milliliters. So what we can do is we can just multiply this by 7, and we can get the number of H pluses in the cup of acid I gave you. So it's 7 times 10 to the minus 6 times 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd H pluses. So I hope that was helpful. If you have questions, feel free to email me. Again, it's Greg, and good luck on the exam. Have a great day.